Simula na ng pagbabago. Ang pag-angat ng finances at negosyo mo ay ang pag-angat ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. Kaya this 2022, simulan natin ang pagbabago sa pag-unlad mo. Nagbabalik ang pinakamalaki at pinakamasayang business at investment festival ng bansa. InvestoFest 2022. Igniting the Filipino Financial Revolution. We have gathered over 20 top industry figures to help you make your first million, start your first business, and to help you get into the promising investments in the Philippines and in the world. Learn from the people who have done it, all for free. Yes, mga ka-investa, dahil libre ang matuto. Dahil libre at kaya mong umunlad. Ito na ang simula ng pagbabago ng buhay mo. Ito na ang simula ng pagbabago ng Pilipinas. Simulan ang pagbabago sa'yo. The InvestoFest 2022, the Filipino Financial Revolution. Join now! Simula na ng pagbabago. Ang pag-angat ng finances at negosyo mo ay ang pag-angat ng ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. Kaya this 2022, simulan natin ang pagbabago sa pag-unlad mo. Nagbabalik ang pinakamalaki at pinakamasayang business at investment festival ng bansa. InvestoFest 2022. Igniting the Filipino Financial Revolution. We have gathered over 20 top industry figures to help you make your first million, start your first business, and to help you get into the promising investments in the Philippines and in the world. Learn from the people who have done it, all for free. Yes, mga ka-investa, dahil libre ang matuto. Dahil libre at kaya mong umunlad. Ito na ang simula ng pagbabago ng buhay mo. Ito na ang simula ng pagbabago ng Pilipinas. Simulan ang pagbabago sa'yo. The InvestoFest 2022, the Filipino Financial Revolution. Join now!
Yun, so what's up everyone and good evening. So let me just give me a second to set up lang. What's up everyone? What's up mga ka-investor? Good evening. Happy Monday. So surprising live, no? Kaka-live ko lang no Saturday. Hopefully okay pa kayo dyan. So as you all know, we're about to have the InvestoFest 2022. And as we do with all of our events, prior to the event, 1 week before, gusto namin magpakulo, gusto namin magbigay ng patikim kung ano ba yung level of value na pwede nyo makuha, right? And today, I'm going to be joined by one of our speakers actually from last year's InvestoFest. And of course, one of our good friends sa Investa. So good evening to everyone. Onting shoutouts muna. What's up, Francine? Good evening to Josiah. What's up? Good evening to everyone. So feel free to help share the stream because tonight I'm going to be joined by someone who has been in the markets for over 3 decades. So hopefully I can extract as much wisdom, right, and timeless lessons as I can to provide value to everyone. Really excited for the live tonight. And by the way, to everyone watching, mamaya sa dulo, magpapapremyo kami for all of our live viewers out there. All you have to do is share the stream, tag 3 friends, and make sure to use the hashtag InvestoFest 2022 for a chance to win investment funds on the new Investa app. So we'll be giving away a total of 500 pesos, right, in investment funds to 5 winners. So good luck to that. So game, what's up? So WNCG, good evening. So game, wag na natin patagalin pa. I would like to introduce our guest interviewee, guest speaker for tonight. So, Tonio Garcia right? One of our good friends dito sa Investa who has been a speaker during the InvestoFest 2021, our exclusive elite webinar for Investa Prime subscribers, and of course, also during the Trading Cup defense, right? We are going to be talking about timeless lessons from a stock market veteran. Right? Tonio is the FVP of Retail and Online Marketing of RCBC Securities. So without further ado, I would like to bring on to the stream Sir Tonio Garcia. Yun.
Hey, Paulo, how are you?
Hi, Sir Tonio. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you perfect.
All right. Great. Great.
Yan. So, sir, thank you so much for your time. Maybe before we officially begin, for the benefit of those who just their first time hearing from you or seeing you here on the Investor stage, could you give a quick introduction about yourself?
Oh, all right. So yeah, Tonio Garcia. I'm the head of retail and online marketing for RCBC Securities. I suddenly got a quick dose of feeling old when Paulo said I was in the market for 3 decades already, but yeah, it's quite accurate. I started in 1985, so I've been around for quite some time. Not all the years directly involved in the market, but I've been around the market since then. So maybe a little more than half that time. So yeah, again, I'm the head of retail sales and online marketing. So I handle everything online, all the online trading, all the online platforms for RCBC, RCBC Securities, that is. So yeah, I maybe we can just get to know more about me and as we go along rather than just give this whole intro.
Yeah, so maybe to start, thank you for that, Tonio. Maybe to start, could you share with our audience how and when you began investing in the markets?
Okay, so yeah, I mentioned 1985 was kind of an auspicious year for me. I'd kind of been around the markets because I'm a third generation stockbroker, if you will. My grandfather had his own brokerage, and then after him, my dad had his own brokerage. So I joined my dad, and then my lolo ended up joining us. So we were 3 generations of Antonio Garcia's working on the same trading floor. No, so 1985, kind of messing around in school. Um, I ended up having to move to night school, which was then called CDD in LaSalle, which is now Benilde, right? But the precondition for joining that evening program was you needed to be working. And so I joined my dad's brokerage. And that was the beginning. In terms of investing, I probably bought my first share not too far after I joined my dad. In fact, I recall it was actually 1 share of PLDT. At that time, I think PLDT was trading at 30, 35 pesos, and there was a client who had an odd lot. And so I decided to take it just to, have that one share, right? So that's probably the beginning. And then, as time went by, I invested in different stocks. Back then, there were very few issues compared to the number of issues we have today. So, you try kind of go back and forth. San Miguel, PLDT, Felix, Anscore. I mean, those were the big blue chips back then, right? Globe. Globe was still called Globe McKay at that time. So yeah, I would just buy a few shares here, buy a few shares there. I didn't really have a lot of money yet at that point. I must have been I was 19, I believe, when I started working with my dad. So that was the beginning. Yeah.
I
So
remember when we shared it to me before, you used to have to go to the floor of the exchange to be able to make any trades.
I did. Yes, we did. And we at that time we were on the Binondo floor because we were part of Manila Stock Exchange, right? They were still Manila and Makati at that time. And we lived in Alabang, right? So I would go from Alabang to Binondo, and then after trading at, I guess, 12:30, head back to the office in Makati, and then do the afternoon there, and then at 5:30 I would leave for LaSalle, um, do my evening classes 6 to 9, and then back home to Alabang. So that was my life for quite a number of years, actually.
Yun. Grabe. Tapos ngayon, everything's so much easier. Everything's just online, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so maybe going back, when you were just starting out in the markets, did anyone act as a mentor to you?
Yes, well, definitely my dad was the first. As a young kid, I used to actually follow him to the office. He wasn't always also in the market. He ran a publicly listed mining company in the late 70s and early 80s called Western Minolco. So I used to go with him on Saturdays to the office and make kulo there, play with all the typewriters and go into the stock room and, you know, take pens and whatever was interesting. But in terms of the market, yeah, I used to, I would visit my dad um, when he was working with my grandfather. And I was always intrigued because at that time, everyone always had this blackboard, right, which had all the quotations and all the closing prices of all the stocks that were listed, right? So I always used to be intrigued by that. So, um, mentor, yeah, my dad was my first. Then when my grandfather joined us, he taught me a lot of stuff as well, uh, especially not really psychology of trading, but just understanding how to see what's in front of you when the board is very active and things like that. I mean, he would always stand in the front with his arms, behind his back, just looking at all the issues, and I'd stand beside him, and just ask questions, right? So both of them were very instrumental in me, I guess, ending back in the market now. No, uh, I guess this runs in my blood, so it's there. And then there's a third gentleman who actually worked both with my grandfather first, and then when my grandfather sold his brokerage, he joined my dad. His name was Monico Ignacio. He was a professor in LaSalle, a finance professor. Um, Very strict guy, very serious, no nonsense. He was also very instrumental in how my thesis turned out. When I asked him to review it, it came back with more red than the actual ink I used to type up the thesis. And daming corrections and daming comments. But it really helped me because in the end, I nailed my thesis, I nailed my defense, end up with a 3.5, which I wasn't expecting. I thought I failed my thesis defense because the guys were so tough. The panel was so tough, right? Asking me questions, and I think I was there for like 2.5 hours. So yeah, Monaco also helped me. So I would say those three were my big mentors in terms of where I am in the market today.
Great. So throughout the years, I'm curious, how have you approached, right? Your trading, your investing. How have you approached the market? Have you approached it more from a technical perspective, or are you more of a fundamental investor?
Okay, so when I was young, uh, I'll characterize my trading as very wild, right? I was just buying anything that moved. I'd ask, "Oh, Dad, what do you think of this? Looks good." Yeah, I'd jump in and things like that, right? So I wouldn't even say they were based on technical or fundamental at that point. It was really just what's moving, momentum and things like that. As I got older, um, and I learned more about technical analysis, fundamentals, and then our brokerage started getting research analysts. We're a small family brokerage, so we had just one analyst. But picking his brain was also a key to understanding, fundamentals, right? So as I got older, I kind of started being more half and half, right? Fundamental and technical. And today I guess you know, as old as I am, um, I really look more at fundamentals at this point. So I'm really more of a longer term. Uh, I guess technicals is for quicker trades, in my opinion, right? Of course, you can go long on technicals as well, but um, it's more about kind of preservation of capital kind of growing the that capital towards the retirement years. No? So it really moved from just being trading anything and jumping in and out quickly, sometimes not even knowing why we were getting in, no? To where I am today, which is kind of more structured, more how do you say it? More formal, I guess, in how I'm investing, right?
So when you're looking at fundamentals, do you look for companies with strong growth, or are you trying to find undervalued companies? Are you playing the value game?
When I was with MBG Capital, they were very value oriented fund, right? So I kind of also saw the merits of value investing. It's hard to, in terms of true value, it's hard to probably find companies today that will meet all the criterias for value. And again, each one has a different, criteria. But so yeah, I do look for value. I do look for growth as well. I think there's obviously a lot of potential in a lot of the growth companies. In particular, I like the RE space right now, right? I've liked ASEN for a long time. I mean, we've seen it go from 2 pesos to 13. Now it's pulled back, and it's kind of, I guess, in a crossroads, right, where a lot of analysts feel it's overvalued. But then if you look at the long-term potential, where they're trying to get to 5,000 megawatts or 5 gigawatts. So I see potential there. I'm not plugging it, by the way. I'm talking more about RE as an industry, and especially now with the war in Ukraine, I think some of those resources are going to be very valuable, and there'll probably be a shift towards RE. So yeah, it's hard to say if I'm specifically value or specifically growth. I really look at the companies. I'll study them, and if any of the listeners here have sat in any of the discussions I've had with you guys, I talk about what I look for in the companies, right? Management, the prospects, the business as a whole, right? So, yeah, I can't specifically say one type of investing, but if the company merits the investment, then I would go into it.
But Sir Tonio, what do you think is the advantage of traders who can also incorporate fundamentals into their trading versus those who base all of their decisions off the charts?
Okay, so I've always felt that if you can marry fundamental indicators and technical indicators that point to market moving up or a stock moving up, then you probably hit a winner, right? Generally, they won't exactly go in tandem, right? But to me, I guess if you incorporate fundamentals, I mean, obviously you're buying with a basis, a fundamental basis, right? You're looking at the figures, at the prospects in terms of revenue and income and things like this, so that if your technical ever goes south, at least you're not really sitting on crappy stock, right? You've really looked at something and looked into it well. So I really think that they complement each other. I know here the community is very technical based, and that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I like looking at both. I mean, maybe one will assure yourself of the other, right? So if your technical looks good and you see your fundamental is good, then you're okay, and vice versa. So to me, that's really one of the keys for fundamental analysis. Is at least there's a I don't want to say a logical basis, right? Because even charts work that way, but there's a sound basis and something to rely on in terms of the company and where it's headed. No?
So, Sir Tonio, if I'm someone who wants to maybe start learning about fundamentals, what are some of the key things I need to learn about first? Because I think the reason why a lot of traders, especially when they're starting out and don't have maybe a business or accounting background, nalulula sila sa numbers. Parang ang daming kailangan intindihin. So what do you think are some of the first key concepts you need to learn when you're trying to learn more about fundamentals or incorporating it to your technical trading?
Key concepts. Okay. How would I distill that? Well, again, yeah. So like you say, I would think a basic understanding of maybe accounting and finance would be a primary requirement. No, you don't have to hold a degree in any of those areas, but at least a basic understanding, right? That's one. And then obviously how to translate what you're reading in the numbers into what they mean for the stock itself, the stock price, the valuation, and things like that, right? In my case, I didn't. It was something I learned in school, outside of my accounting courses and things like that. It was more through asking questions and talking to other brokers and hearing their ideas and things like that. And that's why I kind of espouse also reading, books about the market, about trading psychology, about fundamental analysis, and there are several good books out there which we've discussed before, and not written in rocket science. I mean, very easy to understand, right? So, and now we have websites. There's so many. Investopedia, probably the most basic one. All the concepts are there, explain everything very clearly, right? So for me, yeah, understanding that, looking, reading about it, researching about it, and using that to, for your valuations, for selecting companies and the like, is probably where you should start.
And so, moving on from our conversational fundamentals, before I ask the next question, I want to remind our viewers, guys and gals, if gusto yung manalo ng investment fund after the interview, just make sure you share the stream, tag 3 friends, and use the hashtag InvestoFest 2022. So, moving on to my next question, Sir Tonio.
Yes.
What do you think are the common misconceptions average people or newbies have about trading the markets?
Probably that it's easy to make money, right? It's one of the big misconceptions, I guess. So, again, it's not, right? I mean, it's something that you need to study, you need to understand. What are the other misconceptions? It's actually, that to me is the biggest one. That the market it's easy to understand. It's simple. I mean, to this day, I sometimes have difficulty understanding the market myself, right? So to me, it's like a constant learning process. It's not something you can just jump in. I don't think that we're born with an innate sense of investing, right? It's not at least investing in the stock market, right? It's not something that we're built with. So I think it's something that needs to be learned, and you're probably going to be learning it. Like you said, I've been around for 30 years. There's some days when I look at my computer screen, I can't read where the market's going, especially in the last 2-3 months, right? The swings are so wild. And when you think something's going up, it ends up going down, and vice versa. So it's the market is not easy. It takes a lot of education, research, understanding, reading, discussing, But the good thing is we live in a world where all that information is available to us, right? Even I guess access to brokers is even faster now because we have Viber, we have WhatsApp, cell phones. Before, you have to dial, rotary pa yung phone. Pag busy, you have to start all over, right? So it's not that simple. right? So yeah, that to me is probably the biggest misconception, that the market, is easy to understand, easy to invest, easy to buy, sell, and all of that. It's not. It's it's something that takes long time to understand. But I think as time goes on, you obviously learn new things. You're able to anticipate certain moves in the market. I mean, uh, of course, there are times when I can totally read the market, um, when you just look at a stock or market in general, the screens in general, right? And that comes with time. You really have to allow yourself to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, so that you can improve your trading, your investing, your decisions moving forward.
So we've mentioned it a couple of times that you've been in the markets for more than 30 years, but in that time period, are there any notable trades that stand out where you just think about it top of mind? Could you share with us maybe two unforgettable trades? Maybe one profit and maybe another that's a loss.
Okay, I don't. I'll start with the loss. I don't recall the particular issue or the particular circumstances. Uh, and again, this will speak to what I just spoke about earlier, right? Uh, I've lost my shirt twice in this market, like completely wiped out, right? Fortunately, both times I was not yet married. I was still single. I had a job and all of these things, right? So the only thing with that was obviously everything I built got wiped out, right? And I, I'm not embarrassed to say it. I want the viewers to learn that it can happen, and it's not hard for something like this to happen, right? The first one, I guess, in terms of money value, wasn't a giant one. The second one was bad for me. I mean, it was so bad that I didn't trade for 2.5 years, right? I just became a broker. I could make money for the clients. I could give them advice and all of that. But when it came to doing it for myself, I couldn't do it. And really, the reason for that is obviously your objective when you're dealing with clients' money, right? You don't want them to lose, so you're looking out for their best interest. When it's personal, you tend to be, greed sets in. Uh, you start thinking about what can be, or how good it can be, and things like that. So it's a totally different world. So 2.5 years, right? And then one day, uh, I remember that Bell uh, closed at limit, right? And we were in the runoff. Well, what was then the runoff period. And I don't know what compelled me to do it. I jumped in. I bought a lot of Bell at the close, right? Halfway through the runoff, I freaked out. Called my dad. He was in the office. I said, "Dad, you want a half on this?" So we end up splitting on it, which obviously in hindsight was the bad move, because the next day it gapped up at the opening and I got out, right? At a substantial profit. I didn't make everything back that I lost, but I made a lot of it back that I could get back on my feet in terms of investing again. And kind of that trade, for whatever reason, turned the tide for me. And from then on, I started trading and you're probably going to ask me a question about this later, but I started trading with more discipline, right? Following my rules and my limits and things like that, rather than just sit and wait. Oh, babalik niyan. I can probably sell it again at higher price and whatever, right? So that really changed the way I was started investing. So yeah, big loss. And then 2.5 years later, one giant gain that got me back into the market.
During would it be okay if you shared what year that happened, that big loss?
Uh must have been maybe 94, 95.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, actually maybe a little earlier. 95 I think was when I hit that big trade. Um so maybe end of 93, early 94 was my second wipeout.
Get it. So I have ito medyo philosophical question, right? Do you believe that great traders are born or great traders are made?
Yeah, mentioned it a bit earlier. Uh, Again, I don't think we're really born with trading knowledge, right? I mean, common sense and things like this. Yeah, it's inherent in us when we're born, and we just have to learn how to make use of that, right? But investing, trading, I think it's something that needs to be learned, um, right? So yeah, straight up, I think uh, great investors are made rather than born. That's what I think.
So you talk about, yeah, we have to learn about trading some born, but ngayon, you mentioned a while ago, nowadays, access to information, so dali. There's, ngayon, what you're trying to guard against is not trying to find information, but trying to find good and truthful information. Right? But back then, how was the learning process? Right? There were maybe a few books, but the internet wasn't there early on. So how was it just really learning from experience back then?
Definitely no books. I mean, no internet. Sorry, lots of books, lots of experience. And again, I was a type of guy. I am a type of guy who likes asking questions. So I was always picking my dad's brain or my grandfather's brain, or anyone who was willing to get to a discussion. Right? What do you think of this? How does this work? How do you see this coming out? Things like that. I mean, all of that builds experience. But yeah, today information is there's too much information also, right? That a lot of it already is noise and can really affect how how we think or how we want to operate. And you said it right, Paolo. Yung access to good information, right? So it's really deciphering which is noise and which is worth using for your investing, right? Um, so yeah, that it was it's kind of very different back then. Information was paper based, newspaper. Uh, it's funny we had a forum last Friday for RCBC, and I was quoted in the newspaper today, and a couple of friends sent me that screenshot of the clipping, and then my first thought was like, wow, you guys still read the newspapers? But uh, that's what it was before, right? You had to actually wait for the newspaper to get the information. There was no PSE edge to make disclosures on the spot, right, and release it in a timely manner. We had to wait. We had to wait for the reports. We had to wait for the earnings reports. There were no earnings calls, no conference calls where you just dialed in and CFO and president will explain what happened in the quarter. Walang ganyan. The only time you would really see or have any contact with officers of on the board of directors of a company was during the annual meeting. And I think in that time, in those days before, people went more for the food than for the information, right? So very, very different back then, um, compared to how things are today.
Yeah, and you mentioned it maybe 2 or 3 times in the interview that you always like to ask questions from your dad or your mentors back then. Would you say that I'm just curious if you would say you're naturally a curious person, and if yes, how has that curiosity like been a factor to maybe your success throughout the years? Just in life in
Um,
general, yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I'm a curious person per se. The way I look at it is like I have a hard time, like say, learning from a book, right? If I had a professor who would say, "Here's the book, read it, and we'll see you in the finals," I would have probably failed that course, right? Because when there's a concept and you don't understand it, you want to be able to raise your hand and ask your teacher, "Hey, prof, what does this mean, right? Can you explain it in a real world uh, scenario, right?" Um, so I think one of the things for me was also when I started going to school at night and working in the day, and being able to apply what I was learning in school and say, "Oh, so this is how you do this, right?" Or accounting, or whatever, bank reconciliation, right? When you learn it as a concept in class, you're like, how does this apply to me? I don't have a checkbook or anything. And then I started working. I ended up with my own bank account, checkbook, and then I said, "Oh wow, ganito pala yan," right? So these were kind of the transitions that I went through the learning process. And so for me, by asking questions, it obviously helped not just with my trading or investing, but in a lot of things in general. Um, I I'm the type who prefers to talk rather than email or send messages, right? If you're texting me and we pass two messages and we're still texting, I'm just gonna call you straight away. So it's faster, it's easier, no misinterpretations, right? Uh, so that's how, for me, asking questions helps me, right? I find that the learning curve, understanding what we're talking about, is easier when it's articulated rather than put in print or in writing, right? So yeah, I don't know if I'm a curious person. I guess in a way I am, if you're always asking questions, um, but not curious to the point na I'm kulit na, oh, why right? So, and I try to not be that guy.
Got it. Great. So thank you for that, Sir Tonyo. But going back maybe to our topic on trading, if you could boil down successful trading or successful investing into only 3 factors, what would those 3 factors be?
Wow, just three. Okay, well, I don't know if these are factors, but these are important to me, right? Patience, definitely very important. Um, I've seen where, even in my own case, where you enter a trade with a certain expectation, it hasn't gone there yet, and then something new comes along, so you jump out of it, get into the next trade. So you're really not making anything from the first trade. You're probably losing. Jump to the next one. You spend commissions, and back then commissions 1.5%. So it was not cheap. I mean, day trading with that kind of commission was very difficult, right? Today at 2.5, it's a small hurdle, right? So patience, definitely number one. Number two, discipline uh, is very important. And I guess inside of discipline is your rules, your risk parameters, and things like that. And you really have to set that and have the discipline to follow that. Otherwise, you get subject to drawdowns, you get stopped out or whatever, right? So it's very key that when the third thing comes in, which is emotion to me, that your rules are in place so that your emotional state doesn't affect your investment. And I always say it, we're human. That's almost physically impossible to kind of look the other way, even if you know the company is good, but you see the market coming down, let's say like it has been for the last month or so, right? You're probably going to think, geez, I'll just get out now. I'm probably ahead by a bit, come back at a lower price and things like that, right? But, good companies, again, they're good companies and it's just an interim situation that to me doesn't have anything to do with the company itself. And it's just market forces or flows or whatever. Not having that discipline can probably be worse for you than riding it out for the short term. So I think those three, there's a lot of factors involved, just even within those three. But yeah, patience to me is important, discipline and emotion. Just cut emotion out of your trading. That alone will probably 50% of your investment will probably turn out right just because of that, right?
Perfect. So, how about this one? Not trading related, or it can be, another answer. But if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would that be?
Again, probably those three things would come to mind, right? Just being patient, not trading so much. I mean, there's a time I was over trading. Not take emotion into account, which I did a lot. Um, I remember one of our traders kept hearing me complain about losing trades or multiple losing trades, and he said, Tonio, when you drive a car, if you keep looking back, you're just gonna get bumped, right? So just keep looking forward. You took the loss, forget it, move on. And I think that also was important for me to understand that, right? When you're young, man, you just want to make a lot of money. You don't want to lose any money, and you don't realize that that's almost next to impossible. I mean, even the greatest traders, the percentage is they're not winning every trade, right? They're winning 1, 2 out of 10, but those two are giant wins that their losses are insignificant, right? So to me, it's really, if I could go back and tell myself, be more focused, understand clearly what I was doing or what I intended to do, and then have the patience and the discipline to see that through, right? Again, I see that over time, the market is an uptrending market, and I might not have traded as much and sat on stuff if I knew then what I know now, right? So that's what I would tell myself.
Yun, I think that's great, and maybe I think to end our interview with a great set of last two questions. You've been in the market since, if I'm not mistaken, 1985,
Yep.
right? And besides technology and increase in the number of investors today, has anything really changed over the decades, or are the principles of success, right, back then still the same as they are today?
Um, well, yeah. So changes in how the business is done, giant changes. Obviously, we talked about access to information now being so quick, so investment decisions, are almost on the spot. Definitely technology, as you mentioned, from open outcry and shouting, your trades or your, you know, buying and selling each broker from the actual blackboard to using the trading systems that we have today. Um, Number of clients, yes. There's still a lot of underserved and unserved clients, so it's still a huge potential for market education, for getting people to invest. So yeah, those you're right. Those are all big things that change from the past. In terms of success, uh, I think that the investment basics and the fundamentals that are used, in investment theory and things like that, are still the same today, right? I don't know if people will still read Benjamin Graham or Intelligent Investor or any of these older books, but I still think they're all relevant today, right? Maybe not every single chapter, but there are key chapters in many of the older books that are relevant still today. And again, yeah, the principles of investing haven't really changed over the years, right? They still teach you same stuff. They may, now we have different types of investments and derivatives and things like that, right? Which we didn't have before. So that kind of adds another layer to all the learning. But again, the investment principles behind all of these investments, to me, are still valid and probably will be for the foreseeable future.
Got it. So ito, last two questions na talaga. Kanina pala,
Yeah,
last thing. So,
no problem.
you've been in the markets nga for more than 3 decades. What's your advice to those traders who maybe just brand new to the game, right? Or sorry, let me say it again. You've been in the market for 3 decades. What's your advice to those traders who want to stay in the game for as long as you have?
Okay. One, I would say trading versus investing, it probably will give you, that longer, as you say, stay in the game, right? Um, but I think the keys probably is first is just completely understand what you're doing, right? Don't just jump in without, doing your research or at least talking to your broker about the companies that you're going to invest in. Um, like I said, I'm big on knowing the business, what the business does, knowing how they make money is key. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people cannot tell you exactly how company they're invested in actually makes money, right? Um, so that's one. I think understanding that is very key. Um, the other part, I guess, is just constant learning, right? Read, books, blogs, go to, things like this for me are very important, right? Even 30 years in the market, I still like to learn, and I still feel like I do learn things every day, right? I'm not like, okay, I know everything, which is obviously not true, right? Um, so that's important to me. Just this constant learning, constant understanding of how things are now, how they're changing. All of these things to me help you make decisions, not just investing, but in life in general, right? Which I think, obviously, if your life is good, you probably make better investment decisions, right? Than if you kind of have a difficult life and you're compounding that with having to trade and invest in stuff that you don't understand, probably make you miserable, right? So I think that's probably the most important. Understand what you're doing, look into it thoroughly. Don't just jump in because someone said, "Oy, pare, okay to, let's buy this or that or whatever," right? Not just stocks, whatever, crypto, NFTs, whatever. Don't don't join the bandwagon because it's the hot thing, right? Um, make it. You're getting in because you have an objective, you have a goal, you have a plan, and that's to be the probably the key there, right? So you can put all these things together, you'll last, you know, the decades that I guess you're trying to refer to. I know you're trying to say I'm an old guy, but I I that's my advice. The advice to everyone. I'm just kidding, Paolo.
Yeah, I think thanks for that, Sir Tony. And maybe before we wrap everything up, right, to everyone watching the live now, I mean, if you learned something new today, if you were able to extract some timeless lessons, kindly comment down below. Thank you, Sir Tonyo. And Sir Tonyo, before I let you go, do you have any final message to our viewers tonight watching this interview? Maybe where we can continue to learn from you, what you do, and all that?
Okay, so yeah, number one, thank you for having me. I mean, it's a pleasure, it's an honor. We've done a lot of stuff together, so I'm always happy to work with you and help further educate everyone. I think that's a big key, and that's something I like doing. Um, for everyone who's here, thank you for also joining us. I appreciate that you've taken the time. It's probably your dinner time now, and we've taken an hour of that away from you. Hopefully, you have learned something. In my case, like I said, I do a lot of educational webinars, and I'm happy to do these for anyone, any group. So if you guys want to put a group together, you can come directly to us at RSEC. Let me know, and we'll put something together and do an educational webinar for you. Or you can ask Paolo if they can set something up. I'm seeing all the messages here, and I appreciate all the thanks, guys. It's makes me feel good to know. Okay, that, that's the best one so far. um, but at RSEC, we're happy to help you in your investment journey. We are. I'll plug it here. Hopefully by April 1, we will have a fully online application process. Wala nang downloading, wala nang signatures. Well, you still have to sign, but you don't sign on any documents anymore. No, our KYC will be through facial recognition. The only time we would need to speak to you further is if there are any incomplete documents or information that you sent through, or any, just for lack of a better description, any red flags. But hopefully by April 1, it's going to be fully streamlined online, and just probably 50 times easier than it is right now, as it is. So online platforms, it's very robust. We're also enhancing that. So probably sometime closer to the end of the second quarter, we'll be using a different user interface already for our Easy Trade platform. Whether you know or not, we have a mobile platform, a mobile app that goes with our trading platform, so you can trade anytime, wherever you are, anytime, anywhere, on the go, in your car. Don't trade while you're driving, please. But yeah, we have all of these products available now. We have research material, which we can disseminate. If you're interested, again, just send me a message, email me. I don't know if Paolo has my office email out there. But yeah, I mean, it's on our website. So, if you want to be added to our mailing list, please feel free to send us a note. And we'll be happy to add you, so you can receive that additional information from us. Yeah, that's it. Again,
Yeah.
thanks Paolo and Investograms for this opportunity to relive my glory days. Hopefully we'll have another 30 years of this. But yeah, I know it's been fun to reminisce. I had forgotten a lot of these events, until you started asking these questions, right? So but yeah, thanks too for making me remember that I took a really hard loss at one point in my life.
Well, we all learned a lot from you, Sir Tonyo. Really appreciate your time. I know you're a really busy person. Thank you so much for
Oh,
joining us at dinner
anytime.
time, right?
Anytime.
And providing value to the trading community. And as you saw some of our comments, a lot of our viewers really appreciated it. Hopefully, we can have you back again in our events or maybe another podcast session in the future.
Anytime, my friend.
Yun, thank you so much.
I'm happy to do it.
Yun, so again, to everyone, guys, if maybe you're part of a community, you want to have Sir Tonio speak for you guys, he's more than welcome to do that. And again, check out the RCBC Securities website if you want to be part of, if I'm not mistaken, the mailing list. Right, so make sure to check that out. All right. So, Tonio, thank you again so much for your time. Hopefully you're safe, you're well, and hopefully I can speak with you again soon.
Sure. Anytime, Paolo. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Goodbye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. All right. So, guys, teka lang. Oops. Ayun. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed my interview with Mr. Tonio Garcia. But of course, before we end, may onting paraffle tayo para sa mga nanood hanggang sa dulo. To all of our live viewers, we'll be drawing 5 winners na 100 pesos na investment fund to the new Invest app. But before I do that, diba, teka, share ko lang yung screen ko. One last plug for everyone, guys. If you learned a lot today, Sir Tonio was one of our speakers back in the InvestoFest 2021. Right? I really enjoyed this talk there as well. And the InvestoFest 2022 is happening very, very soon. I believe less than a week away. Next Monday, sa March 28, it's going to start. And yun, just really, and it's free. There's something, you have an option to attend free. There's something we just really did for just to reach and impact the lives of as many Filipinos as we can. Yun talaga yung goal nito, right? To connect you guys and gals with the best people, with the best in the industry in personal finance, investments, entrepreneurship, business. Kaya sobrang lupit yung all-star caliber speakers natin. Our keynote speakers are Edward Lee, Kelvin Lee, Mr. Dennis Anthony Uy, and Philip Hagedorn and Miguel Agarao are going to be here. Our good friend from Open Journal, right? Matt Flores and the rest of the gang, the rest of the speakers. We've recorded majority of these already. I've watched them. I'm really excited for you guys as well. So, we already brought them here, right? Nandito na sila. Kayo na lang inaantay. And again, you have an option to join the event for free. The event schedule is up on the website. Go to instagram.com/investafest para makita nyo. And then, if you want to attend it for free, you can get the basic ticket. Pero 24 hours lang yung access sa lahat ng talks. Pero libre. But if you want lifetime access to the event, to all the talks, to all of the recordings of all the speakers, and of course, the live Q&A, which is like a whole different event in itself, to be honest. So, and sa mga lagi nag-aatan na event namin, alam nila yan. Just yun, you can avail the VIP ticket. I'm sure yung binahay nyo dyan, di ba, exponentially in return in terms of the learnings. And of course, 6 days left. Major shout out to our partners who helped make this event possible. But of course, special shout out to our major partners, Atram and 2Trade Asia. Make sure to check their platforms out as well. So there we go. Without further ado, let's proceed sa ating raffle. So sa ating giveaway. Let me just share my screen. Wala pala music, kaya pala malungkot. So by the way, guys, this is not the last live I'll be doing this week. Hopefully, di pa kayo nauumay sa akin, but we'll be having another one on Wednesday. The speaker will be announced tomorrow, and I believe another one on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's gonna be a very long week for all of us. So play lang tayo ng onting chill na music. So game. So good luck. So we'll be having 5 winners for tonight. So let's call on our first winner. So congratulations to our first winner ng 100 pesos na investment fund dahil nanood ka sa live natin tonight. Congrats to you, AFSA-net. So AFSA-net, if you're still joining us right now sa live, pa-mind na lang. Congratulations. So para lang view mo ulit, tanggalin ko yung name mo. So that's 1 out of 5. Let's call on our second winner. Congratulations to Cyrus M. Lumanog. So Cyrus, congratulations, you are our second winner ng 100 pesos na investment fund. So, tanggalin ko lang yung name mo para di maulit. So guys, if gusto nyo manalo sa mga next few days, just make sure to watch the streams. We'll be announcing them naman. And make sure to share them and tag your friends. So our third winner ng 100 pesos na investment fund, Josiah, yung na-comment na pogi ni Sir Tonio. Congratulations. Panalo ka ng 100 pesos na investment fund. And our final two winners. So, congratulations. Second to the last. To Celeste Ramos. So, Celeste Ramos, congratulations. By the way, to claim yung 100 pesos na investment fund on the new Investa app, please message us, right? We'll have a list of your names. Message the page kasi minsan mahirap yung page mag-contact sa personal na account. So, we can help you process your 100 pesos na investment fund. And to our final winner, congratulations to Ferlie Maurice Capili Cardenas. So congratulations, Ferlie, if I'm pronouncing it correct. Panalo ka ng 100 pesos na investment fund on the new Investa app. So there we go. Whew, okay, pause na ako. But yun, hopefully, rinig ba yung music? Ako di ko narinig. Hopefully, narinig nyo. So let me just stop my screen share. So hopefully you guys and gals learned a lot tonight. It was a real pleasure and honor to have Sir Tonio from RCBC Securities here. He's done multiple talks for us at Investa. We always love having him on. And of course, major shout out to RCBC Securities as well. So yun, that ends, naka 1 hour na tayo. That ends our stream for tonight. See you guys on Wednesday. I'll announce the speaker tomorrow. I'm sure magugustuhan nyo. Everyone will be excited. Spoiler, bigay ba ako hindi na. So yun, good night. Ingat tayo palagi. And see you guys on Wednesday. Maraming salamat. Hopefully you learned a lot today. And don't forget to join the InvestoFest, Instagrams.com/Investa, Instagrams.com/InvestoFest for free. Alright, good night. And maraming salamat sa inyo lahat.